We live in a world that is overfed and undernourished at the same time. Our plates are full, our arteries are clogged, and our brains are exhausted. And yet we keep reaching for more sugar, more salt, more stimulation, believing relief is just one bite away. But biology doesn't work that way. The human body keeps score. What most people don't realize is that your arteries are not betraying you. They are responding exactly as designed to an environment of excess. Every ultra-processed meal, every dopamine spike from food engineered to hijack your reward system pushes your body further out of balance. Pleasure rises sharply, pain follows quietly, and we call that normal aging. It's not. It's adaptation. Here's the hopeful truth. The same brain that drives overconsumption also has an extraordinary capacity for repair. When we stop overwhelming it, when we choose simplicity over stimulation, the body begins to heal. Not dramatically, not overnight, but steadily and reliably. One well-constructed, whole, anti-inflammatory meal doesn't just feed your heart, it sends a signal to your nervous system that the danger has passed. Dopamine settles, inflammation calms, repair can begin. This is not about restriction as punishment, it's about restraint as compassion. When you eat a meal that works with your biology instead of against it, you may feel something unfamiliar at first. A quiet discomfort, a lack of fireworks. That absence is not failure. That is recalibration. That is your brain learning how to feel satisfied again without excess. And something remarkable happens when pleasure is no longer exaggerated. The ordinary becomes meaningful. Energy returns. Cravings loosen their grip. Blood vessels soften. The body remembers what it's like to be in balance. We don't need extreme diets. We don't need biohacks. We need humility in the face of our own neurobiology. We need meals that are boring enough to heal us and nourishing enough to sustain us. Because real health doesn't come from chasing pleasure. It comes from restoring equilibrium. And when balance is restored, the body does what it has always known how to do. It heals. Your body isn't broken. It's overstimulated. That idea alone can feel radical in a culture that tells us something is wrong with us if we gain weight, feel tired, or receive a diagnosis tied to aging. We are taught to look at clogged arteries as personal failure or genetic bad luck, when in reality they are the predictable outcome of living in an environment saturated with excess. Excess food, excess choice, excess stimulation. The human body evolved for scarcity, and now it is drowning in abundance. At the center of this mismatch is the brain's reward system. Dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure, as it's often described, but the molecule of motivation. It tells us to pursue, to consume, to repeat. In a natural environment, dopamine spikes were rare and meaningful. Food required effort. Pleasure was earned. Today, dopamine is everywhere, engineered into ultra-processed meals designed to be hyper-palatable, instantly accessible, and endlessly repeatable. The brain adapts to this flood exactly as it should. It down-regulates. What once felt satisfying now barely registers. When dopamine baselines drop, we experience it as discomfort, fatigue, low mood, irritability, cravings. Instead of recognizing this as overstimulation, we interpret it as deficiency. We eat more, we snack more frequently, we seek stronger flavors, believing the solution lies in another hit of pleasure. But the body keeps score. Blood sugar swings become inflammation. Inflammation becomes endothelial damage. Over time, arteries stiffen and narrow, not because the body is malfunctioning, but because it is responding faithfully to repeated insults. This is where compassion matters. If you believe your body is broken, you will try to dominate it. You will look for hacks, extremes, punishments. But if you understand that your body is overstimulated, the response changes. The solution is not more intensity. It is less. Less novelty, less constant grazing, less chemical stimulation masquerading as food. And that can feel deeply uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is often mistaken for harm. People say, I feel worse when I eat simply, or I don't feel satisfied without sugar or refined carbs. What they're actually experiencing is withdrawal. The brain, accustomed to constant dopamine spikes, protests when stimulation is removed. This phase is temporary, but it requires patience and trust. On the other side of that discomfort is recalibration. As stimulation decreases, dopamine receptors begin to recover. Baseline levels rise. Hunger signals normalize. The nervous system shifts out of constant threat. And slowly, quietly, the body begins to repair what excess has damaged. Arteries respond. Inflammation recedes. Energy returns. Not as a rush, but as steadiness. Your body is not failing you. It is adapting to the environment you place it in. Change the environment and the biology follows. That is not punishment, that is hope. Ultra-processed pleasure creates hidden pain. That statement runs counter to what we are constantly sold, that pleasure is harmless, deserved, even necessary for coping with modern life. We are encouraged to eat for comfort, to reward ourselves with food, to soothe stress with sweetness, salt, and fat engineered to light up the brain. But the brain is not a passive consumer. It is a learning organ, and it adapts relentlessly to what we give it. Highly processed foods are designed to deliver rapid, intense dopamine spikes. They require little effort, little chewing, little patience. They bypass the body's natural braking systems, fiber, protein, texture, time. In doing so, they teach the brain a dangerous lesson. Pleasure should be immediate and effortless. Over time, this rewiring raises the threshold for satisfaction. Whole foods begin to feel dull. Natural hunger cues become distorted. We don't eat because we are hungry. We eat because we feel empty. The pain created by this process is subtle at first. It doesn't announce itself as suffering. It shows up as restlessness, as low-grade anxiety, as the sense that something is off. Dopamine spikes are always followed by dopamine drops. That is the law of the pleasure-pain balance. The brain seeks equilibrium. When pleasure goes up sharply, pain comes in quietly to restore balance. We don't notice the pain because it feels like normal life. Fatigue, cravings, brain fog, the need for another snack even though we just ate. Inside the body, that invisible pain has a physical signature. Repeated blood sugar surges trigger insulin spikes. Insulin resistance follows. Inflammation becomes chronic. Blood vessels meant to be flexible and responsive become irritated and stiff. The endothelium, the delicate lining of our arteries, takes the hit. This is not dramatic. It is cumulative. 1,000 small assaults masquerading as treats. What makes ultra-processed food especially powerful is that it promises relief from the very discomfort it creates. The anxiety caused by dopamine withdrawal feels real, and food offers temporary escape. But each escape deepens the cycle. Pleasure becomes narrower, more intense, more frequent. Pain becomes broader, quieter, more constant. And because the pain is delayed, we rarely connect it to the source. Breaking this cycle requires a shift in how we interpret discomfort. When someone removes ultra-processed foods and feels worse before feeling better, they often assume something is wrong. In reality, the brain is rebalancing. The pain was always there. The pleasure just masked it. When the mask is removed, the nervous system protests. That protest is not a sign of damage. It is a sign of healing in progress. As dopamine systems stabilize, something remarkable happens. Cravings lose their urgency. Mood steadies. The constant background noise in the brain quiets. The body no longer has to defend itself against repeated chemical assaults. Blood vessels relax. Inflammation cools. Health returns not as a spike, but as resilience. Pleasure is not the enemy, but when it is engineered, concentrated, and consumed without effort, it comes at a cost. The pain was never a mystery. It was simply hidden in plain sight. One simple whole meal can signal safety to your brain. That idea feels almost too modest in a culture that glorifies extremes. We are taught to believe that healing must be dramatic, that repair requires intensity, restriction, or constant optimization. But the nervous system doesn't respond to force. It responds to signals. And among the most powerful signals we send our brain every day is the food we eat. When we live in a state of chronic overstimulation, the brain interprets the environment as unsafe. Constant novelty, constant snacking, constant dopamine spikes keep the nervous system on high alert. Stress hormones remain elevated. Inflammation becomes the background setting. The body shifts into a defensive posture, prioritizing short-term survival over long-term repair. In that state, healing is not a priority. Vigilance is. A simple, whole meal does something profoundly different. It arrives without fireworks. It requires chewing. It contains fiber, protein, and natural fats that slow absorption and steady blood sugar. This kind of meal doesn't hijack the reward system. It respects it. Dopamine rises gently and falls gently, without the crash that signals threat. To the brain, this pattern feels safe. Safety is not a psychological concept alone. It is biological. When the brain perceives safety, the parasympathetic nervous system comes online. Heart rate slows, blood vessels relax, digestive enzymes flow, insulin is released in appropriate amounts, inflammation quiets, repair mechanisms that were previously offline are allowed to resume their work. This is how healing begins, not through excitement, but through calm. For many people, the first encounter with a truly simple meal is uncomfortable. Without the familiar rush of pleasure, there can be a sense of emptiness, even disappointment. The brain, accustomed to overstimulation, interprets neutrality as lack. But neutrality is not deprivation. It is baseline. It is what the nervous system has been missing. With repetition, the signal strengthens. One balanced meal becomes two. The brain learns that nourishment does not require excess. Hunger cues become clearer. Satiety becomes recognizable again. The constant internal negotiation, should I eat? What should I eat? What will make me feel better? Begins to quiet. That silence is not boredom, it is regulation. This is why consistency matters more than novelty. The brain learns through repetition. A single simple meal, eaten regularly, tells the nervous system the same story over and over again. There is no emergency. Food is available. Stimulation is moderate. You can stand down. Over time, that message reshapes physiology. Blood sugar stabilizes, lipids improve. Arterial walls are no longer bathed in inflammatory signals. Importantly, this approach does not rely on willpower. It relies on alignment with biology. When food supports the nervous system instead of provoking it, the effort decreases. Cravings soften, decision fatigue diminishes. The body begins to cooperate rather than resist. Healing in this context is not heroic. It is quiet. It happens beneath awareness, and it begins with something almost deceptively simple. A meal that tells your brain, at last, that it is safe to repair. Discomfort is not harm, it's recalibration. This is one of the hardest truths for people to accept in a culture that equates comfort with health and distress with danger. We have become so accustomed to immediate relief that any sensation of unease feels pathological. Hunger, boredom, craving, even mild dissatisfaction are quickly labeled as problems to be fixed. But from a neurobiological perspective, these sensations are often signs that the brain is doing exactly what it is meant to do. When the brain is repeatedly exposed to high levels of stimulation, whether from ultra-processed food or constant novelty, it adapts by dampening its response. Dopamine receptors downregulate. Baseline pleasure drops. What once felt satisfying no longer does. When that stimulation is suddenly reduced, the brain swings in the opposite direction. The pleasure-pain balance tips toward pain. This is not injury. It is the brain seeking equilibrium. People often describe this phase as feeling flat, irritable, restless, or vaguely unhappy. They say food feels unsatisfying, life feels gray. And because we have been conditioned to fear discomfort, we assume something has gone wrong. In reality, this is the nervous system recalibrating after prolonged excess. The pain was always there. It was just masked by overstimulation. This recalibration period is critical. It is where healing either happens or is interrupted. When discomfort is misinterpreted as harm, people rush to eliminate it. They reintroduce sugar, refined carbs, constant snacking, not because they are hungry, but because they are uncomfortable. In doing so, they reset the cycle. Temporary relief is achieved, but at the cost of long-term balance. What allows recalibration to continue is a shift in meaning. When discomfort is understood as a signal of recovery rather than damage, the experience changes. The sensation itself may not disappear immediately, but the fear around it does. And fear is what amplifies suffering. A calm, observing stance, noticing cravings without acting on them, allowing boredom without filling it, gives the nervous system the space it needs to reset. Over time, the brain responds. Dopamine receptors begin to upregulate. Baseline pleasure slowly returns. What once felt dull starts to feel sufficient. Natural rewards, a meal, a walk, a conversation, regain their ability to satisfy. This process cannot be rushed. It unfolds on a biological timeline, not a cultural one. Importantly, recalibration does not mean white-knuckling or self-punishment. It is not about forcing deprivation. It is about tolerating moderate discomfort long enough for the nervous system to learn that it is safe without constant stimulation. That safety allows the body to shift out of defense and into repair. Blood sugar stabilizes. Stress hormones decline. Inflammatory processes ease. The paradox is that by allowing discomfort, we reduce suffering. By resisting the urge to immediately soothe, we restore the brain's capacity for genuine pleasure. What emerges on the other side is not numbness, but steadiness, not intensity, but resilience. Discomfort, when properly understood, is not the enemy. It is the doorway through which balance returns. Real healing comes from balance, not intensity. This is a difficult message in a culture that celebrates extremes and rewards visible effort. We are taught that if a little is good, more must be better. Stricter diets, harder resets, sharper rules. But the nervous system does not heal through force. It heals through equilibrium. And when we pursue intensity in the name of health, we often recreate the very dysregulation we are trying to escape. Intensity keeps the brain in a state of vigilance. Extreme restriction, rigid food rules, and constant self-monitoring all activate the same stress pathways as overconsumption. Cortisol rises. Dopamine fluctuates wildly. The body perceives threat, not safety. In that state, repair is postponed. The system stays focused on control rather than restoration. Balance, by contrast, is biologically calming. It signals predictability. Regular meals, consistent ingredients, and moderate pleasure allow the brain to relax its grip. When food is neither forbidden nor engineered to overwhelm, it loses its emotional charge. Eating becomes functional again. This neutrality is often misunderstood as lack of progress because it lacks drama. But neutrality is where physiology stabilizes. One of the most overlooked aspects of balance is boredom. A balanced diet is often repetitive. The same simple meals appear again and again. For a brain conditioned to novelty, this can feel uncomfortable. But repetition is precisely what the nervous system needs to reestablish trust. Predictability lowers stress. Lower stress reduces inflammation. And reduced inflammation allows tissues, including blood vessels, to repair. Intensity also encourages an all-or-nothing mindset. When people inevitably fall short of extreme standards, they experience shame and self-blame. That emotional pain becomes a trigger for overeating or abandoning the effort altogether. Balance leaves room for imperfection. It accommodates human variability. And because it is sustainable, it works. From a neurobiological perspective, balance supports stable dopamine signaling. Instead of sharp spikes and crashes, there is a gentle rise and fall. This steadiness restores the brain's ability to experience satisfaction without excess. Cravings become quieter, not because they are suppressed, but because the system no longer needs them to regulate mood. Healing arteries, metabolism, and the nervous system follows the same principle. Chronic diseases do not develop overnight, and they rarely reverse overnight. The body responds to consistent signals over time. Balanced nourishment, repeated daily, creates a cumulative effect. Blood sugar stabilizes. Lipid profiles improve. Vascular inflammation decreases. None of this is dramatic, but all of it is meaningful. Perhaps the most radical aspect of balance is that it requires trust. Trust in the body's intelligence and in the process itself. When we stop trying to dominate our biology and start working with it, the body responds, not with instant gratification, but with durability. Real healing is quiet. It does not announce itself with extremes or rules. It unfolds slowly, steadily, and sustainably when balance becomes the guiding principle.